Hello, A-Person here, and welcome to a new series on this channel. This is Kitchen Table Jank vs. the World, a series where I play trading card games with decks that I own in real life. Very budget decks, may I add as well. And we try and play them against people with full power access to every card on the game. This week we're going to be playing Magic the Gathering Arena and using my real life Magic the Gathering 60 card deck. This is going to be fun. So before I show the deck off to you, I should probably give a bit of background on how I got into Magic in the first place. So I was first introduced to Magic the Gathering around, I want to say 2001 or something, maybe a bit earlier than that, but a friend introduced me to it after we'd been playing the Pokemon trading card game, which I will also be doing in this series later on, but that's for another video. But anyway, so I played with a few starter decks that he owned back then, and then 1 year later I got my own deck. It was around the time Legions came out, so I think this is a bit more accurate. But yeah, I got I think I got a pre-constructed deck. There was an elf deck for the Legion set, and I think it was a mono green elf deck, so I think that was what I had. I don't remember too much about what cards I actually played in it, but I do know that so I was playing, my opponent's deck was a white-black deck with Achroma Angel of Wrath and Fake the Untouchable in it. So now I did end up selling my Magic the Gathering cards a long time ago because I was accumulating a wide variety of cards and I felt that I had a bit too many, and so I should probably sell some. So I ended up selling all of my Magic and Pokemon cards and just kept the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which turned out to be the wrong decision in hindsight, considering how power crept Yu-Gi-Oh became, but that's for another video and another topic entirely. Anyway, I did get back into Magic the Gathering this time, well over a year ago now. I picked up the Welcome deck from the 2016, I want to say. It was we had the blue Welcome deck, which also contained the red cards, so I ended up with this Izzet deck that you see on screen right now. And so that was my starting look. I played one game with this, then immediately started to tweak it and buying cards online for cheap. So this deck went through many evolutions, and the last set of cards that I bought for this deck were back when Ikoria was released, I want to say. Yeah, the Ikoria. I never paid too much for any of the cards in the deck. All the cards in this deck were acquired for under £1 per card, so this is a very cheap deck. Well, okay, one of the cards was slightly more expensive than £1, or maybe two, I want to say, but I did go through many iterations of the deck, but let's go and see what the deck actually looks like. Okay, here we are. This is the deck right here. So, this is the deck. Let's just go over it and see what cards we're running. We are running 3 copies of Opt, which says Scry 1. If you don't know what Scry is, you look at the top card of your library and you may put that card on the bottom of your library. So the library is basically the deck in this game. So why this card's so good is that you can basically see what the next card in your deck is and then draw it, but you can also fix your draw if you don't like what's coming up. Like for instance, if you have a land on top and you don't need any more lands, you can move that out of the way and then immediately take something you're looking for. So that's why it's pretty useful. It also just 1 mana too, so it can trigger a lot of stuff in this deck. We have 2 copies of Stern Dismissal. Return a target creature or enchantment an opponent controls to its owner's hand. I was previously running Unsummon in this slot, but since I can only deal with creatures, not all decks necessarily play creatures, so I needed something else. And this has a bit more flexibility by allowing us to bounce enchantments, so that's pretty good. We have 2 copies of Infuriate. Target creature gains +3/+2 until end of turn. Now, originally I was running Brute Strength from the deck, but with... If I go show you here. Originally I was running Brute Strength, which says target creature gains +3/+1 and gains trampled until end of turn. But that is 2 mana, and Infuriate is just 1. I also used to run a creature called Sky Fiesta Strix in the deck, and I had this cool idea when I was coming back into the game that if you cast Brute Strength on a Sky Fiesta Strix, it becomes a 5/2 and attacks for 5 in the air. That seemed so cool when I came back. Of course now I know there's a lot better things you can do, but and that 5 damage really isn't too much these days, especially when aggro decks exist, like Mono Red for instance, which deal a ton of damage. But hey, that's how it goes. Speaking of Mono Red, we have 4 copies of Shock in this deck. Shock deals 2 damage to any target. In Standard, this is a really good card because you can basically play it turn 1 to remove a weak creature. And it has a lot of versatility since you can also damage your opponent with it, and there is partly an OTK combo involving this card in the deck as well, which we'll get to a bit later. We have one copy of Anticipate in the deck because I only have one copy. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put the one into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. 2 copies of Quench, counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. I don't really want to run too many of this because it can be a brick sometimes. It's amazing early on when you get to stop your opponent's plays, but if they get to a state where they have loads of mana out but they're casting fairly cheap things, they can quite easily pay for the Quench. I probably, if I had the copies of the card, I'd probably run Lofty Denial instead, but that's how it is. I'd probably run Lofty Denial for its flying synergy in the deck, because as you'll see, all the creatures in this deck are flying. We have 4 copies of Lightning Strike. There's 3 here, but then there's also a different print for the M19 here. Lightning Strike deals 3 damage to any target, so it's like Shock, but for 1 extra mana, you get to do 1 more damage. That being said, Lightning Bolt is a better card than both of these cards, but that is not actually modern legal, so we're going to be sticking with... it is modern legal. What am I saying? It's not actually Pioneer, Historic or Standard legal, so we're going to be using Lightning Strike in this deck. 4 copies of Sprite Dragon, which is an immediate upgrade on Sky Theater Strix, so... because Sky Theater Strix says... Flying, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Sky Theater Strix gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Sprite Dragon says Flying Haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on the Sprite Dragon. It was immediately better, and so as soon as Ikoria came out, I ordered a playset of these to replace the Sky Theater Strixes. It was a no-brainer, really. Onto the 3 drops, we have 3 copies of Challenger Spitfire, which you may wonder why I'm playing in this deck, considering we're not running any easy ways to trigger its effects, but we have Shock and Lightning Strike, which are easy enough triggers for it in ways, but only if we're shooting the opponent. But there is an OTK combo in this deck that involves Challenger Spitfire. So I'll talk about that in just a moment when we get to the last piece of the combo. 2 copies of Flame Sweep, deals 2 damage to each creature except for creatures you control with flying, and since all the creatures in this deck are flying, that means that we basically get to avoid any damage to our creatures, though... Having been said that, a fresh Sprite Dragon is really the only one that would not die to this, so... Still a very useful card, and it helps trigger our other creatures' effects, so... very useful. Onto the 4 drops, we have a singular copy of Challenger's Outrage, which seems a bit high by 4 cost instant in this deck. But it covers well with Challenger Spitfire because it deals 4 damage to a target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controllers. So you can pump your Spitfire that way in some way. It's not the best of cards. Lava Coil is arguably a better card, but I got it cheap off a friend, so I basically included it in the deck and just a copy. We use this to take out stuff like Questing Beast or anything with 4 toughness if needs be. 1 copy of Rowstorm, probably one of the more expensive cards in the deck, albeit that's only just over £1. He's very cheap overall, but I really wanted a Planeswalker for my deck, and so I decided to add this guy. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Rowstorm Conduit deals 1 damage to target opponent or Planeswalker, and then if you +2 loyalty, you get to scry 1, and if you -2, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this is a really good card, but it's also the enabler for our OTK combo. Basically what you want to do is you have a Rowstorm Conduit on board, and you also want to have a Challenger Spitfire that's not summoning 6, so you can attack with it on board. Then in your hand you want to have Lightning Strike, preferable, or Shock, which can work in some instances if you've already dealt damage early on. So what happens is you -2 Rowl so that you copy the next instant or sorcery spell that you cast. Then you cast a Lightning Strike on your opponent, damage them for 3. That gets to damage for 6, and Rowl's passive effect triggers for both the cast and the copy, so you'll deal an additional damage. Because you're dealing 4 lots of non-combat damage, Challenger Spitfire gets pumped to a 13-3. You can attack in the air for game. Well, I hope you'll be able to show this off in the games itself, but there's no guarantee in that. This is a jank deck after all. The real win condition, however, is Crackling Drake. We're running 3 copies of this. Crackling Drake's power is equal to the total number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. And when it enters the battlefield, you get to draw a card. So basically, the idea is we get a bunch of instants and sorceries into the graveyard, then cast a Crackling Drake, which can then attack for massive numbers. So there, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. I was facing a mill deck ages ago with this deck, and they milled out almost my entire deck. I then cast a Crackling Drake, which had 18-4 power, and they had nothing to block with, so they weren't able to kill it, so they were dead on board the next game. It was pretty spectacular, let's just say. 2 copies of Windstorm Drake. This was a relic from when the deck was only focused on flying creatures. It's a tribal lord for flying creatures, where other creatures you control with flying get +1/+0. Now, Empyrean Eagle is arguably a better flying lord than this, because it's a lot cheaper. But that is also in white blue, and this is an Izzet deck, so we can't really play Imperial Eagle, and this is the closest thing we have. Also, because of its high cost, I'm running just 2 copies of this card, just so that we can be more efficient. Because 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer is not particularly good, but it does pump everything else. That being said, the creatures in this deck pump themselves anyway, so the necessity including Windstorm Drake is questionable to say the least, but curve out things quite nicely though. And now, unlike most Izzet spells decks, we have a top end. We have a single copy of Niv-Mizzet Parun. Flying. This spell can't be countered. Whenever you draw a card, Niv-Mizzet Parun deals 1 damage to any target. And whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. This is a fantastic card. You gain so much card advantage from this, especially against control decks with all their instants and sorceries. You basically get to stock up on a new hand. And unless they have exile removal, which has happened to me on multiple occasions, then you will gain something out of it. You'll get to draw at least 1 card, draw into something else, maybe another instant or sorcery, maybe it'll be another Crackling Drake or something. But yeah, he does provide value, and the longer he stays on the board, the more damage he does. He's really, really good card. Rounding off the non-land cards, we have Def More Flames, which is an interesting inclusion in the deck, you'll say, because he's 7 mana, but he's really good. If you get attack with him, he deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. So you're potentially attacking for about 11 damage in the air in total when he attacks, and also killing 2 creatures that your opponent has, although it can vary depending on what the board state is like at the time. We don't unfortunately have any way to cheat him out early, so it has to be a hard cast. So he's only in there for long games, but we'll see how things go anyway. So onto the lands. We have 6 islands, so that's going to help us cast all the blue stuff. Obviously, we have a single copy of Mystic Sanctuary, which enters the battlefield tapped, and then you can control 3 or more islands. And we do have ways to search out islands, so there is that benefit. When Mystic Sanctuary enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library, and you get to tap it to add blue as well, so it itself can be a mana source. After that, we have 9 mountains in the deck. I've run a bit more mountains than islands because a lot of our key spells like Shock, Lightning Strike and Flame Sweep all run on red mana, so I thought red mana was currently more important in the deck. We currently have 4 copies of Swiftwater Cliffs, which enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield tapped, you gain 1 life. It's okay, there are obviously a lot better lands than Swiftwater Cliffs, but due to budgeting reasons, I have stuck with this. I obviously wasn't going to be able to get shock lands. Steam vents are pretty expensive after all. Now we could also get Shivan Reef, considering I'm effectively running this as a Pioneer deck, but as of the time of recording, Shivan Reef is not yet on Arena, so can't do that. But yeah, we have problems with fixing, and we really need to fix them because Crackling Drake is 2 blue mana and 2 red mana. Niv-Mizzet is especially difficult to cast with 3 blue mana and 3 red mana, so we need all the fix we can get. To that end, I have added 4 copies of Evolving Wilds in the deck. You get to sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library, making it a bit easier to cast Niv-Mizzet on curve. And it also thins the deck somewhat so that we can get what we need out of the deck more often. So yeah, that's a pretty good. Well, it's not that great a deck to be honest. You can build this far better in it, but say this is kitchen table jank, so we got to play with what we got to play with. Also, I did make a sideboard for this deck. We have 2 unsummon, 3 red cap melee, or I should probably mention that the unsummon is actually the Hour of Devastation copy, but even though Amonkhet Remastered is on here, they didn't include unsummon in that set, so we don't get the cool Hour of Devastation artwork for this card. So we'll just have to go for this one instead. 2 copies of Ether Gust for red or green decks. Really good card. You can see this played main deck in some situations because it's really useful and instantaneous. 2 copies of Negate. I was running this in the main deck before I got copies of Quench, and it just made more sense to run Quench in the main deck because Negate is really good at countering non-creature spells, but you can't necessarily always counter the thing you intend to. 3 copies of Fry. This spell can't be countered. Fry deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker that's white or blue, so we can side this in for lightning strikes if necessary against white or blue decks. 2 copies of Mystical Dispute. This spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a blue spell. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. So against other blue decks, we can counter their spells for just 1 mana, and also triggering our creatures' effects. So we can take the quenches out and replace them with Mystical Disputes if we're up against blue. So really good. And to round off the sideboard, we got another Crackling Drake, which could probably be in the main board ahead of the Windstorm Drake if I'm honest, but I like having the double Windstorm Drake because they pump each other and just makes the board better overall. So yeah, that's the deck. So I say we take this, let's take this kitchen table jank and let's take on the world. Okay, so we're going to be going first, and we have a Sprite Dragon for turn 2 after a Swiftwater Cliff. So we're going to go ahead and keep this hand, but it's a bit dangerous because we only have 2 lands, but a lot of stuff is quite cheap in this hand, so we're going to keep this. So we're playing on the Amonkhet Remastered board for this match, which has one of my favourite music tracks in the entire game. It's really good. If there is a bit of lag in the footage, it's because I'm having a few issues trying to get Arena to run smoothly on OBS, so please excuse any thing you might see on here, but we'll try to go ahead anyway, and we will get a Sprite Dragon in. Unfortunately, because the Goose, we can't actually attack with it, so we'll just have to leave it there for now. Wait on the opponent. They have 2 mana available to them because the Goose can produce mana. They still need to play a land which gives them 3 mana, and then they can cast Oko. No, obviously not because Oko is banned. They will cast a Leafkin Druid and then put a Fabled Passage down. Right, okay, we're gonna go ahead and put an Evolving Wilds down. And we're not going to use any of our other spells this turn because we want to keep Quench open for a while. We can still potentially counter stuff. And they're also going to get something as well. Now we could also Infuriate and Opt in this turn to try and get somewhere, but I want to save that for a bit later. Yeah, get an island. Since we have Swiftwater Cliffs on a mountain but no islands. And we'll go ahead and attack the Sprite Dragon. And hold open mana for the Quench for next turn. Yeah, we definitely Risen Reave that. Looks like we're playing against Temur Elementals. So we cannot really let Risen Reave resolve. And they scoop! Victory to Kitchen Table Jank! Well, putting counter spells in this deck was a good idea. Spectacular! Oh man. Well, on to the next game. Okay, we're doing the second game of this, and the opponent is going first. So we have a bit of interaction with the ops, so I think we'll keep this. Drop an island first. Though we could also keep the ops for the Sprite Dragon in the following turn. Looks like we're getting another Izzet deck. And down comes Dreadhorde Arcanist. That's potentially dangerous. Well, that's cool. Okay. We'll bring out our Sprite Dragon this turn. Dreadhorde Arcanist is extremely dangerous because it allows them to basically use their instants and sorceries twice over. And obviously, this is also an Izzet deck that makes things particularly dangerous. I believe this is the War of the Spark Lord. As I was saying, but I got the pet dog in the corner here. Say hello. Good boy. Just waiting on the opponents. Now we're probably going to be taking 3 because of the shock in the graveyard when the Dreadhorde Arcanist attacks. No, we're taking 5 even because of Dreadhorde Arcanist. Though, really good card though. I've played with it a fair few times. Oh no, they're using Samet Sprints to buff it even further. And we're still taking 5 though, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference. So we're going to put this Swiftwater Cliffs down. Wait until they attack the following turn. Well, so wait until the before they go to the combat phase, then Stern Dismissal the Dreadhorde Arcanist so that they don't get to attack with it. Keep them off the ropes for a bit longer. Once the opponent decides what they're going to do, that is. Ah, no. They're timing out. Never mind, they just dropped a land. So what are we going to see next from them? Seagate Stormcaller. Ooh, that's going to be... So it's a heavy copying Izzet Spells deck, isn't it? And now we'll go ahead and Stern Dismissal the Dreadhorde Arcanist. So they don't get to attack with it. And then we're going to go ahead, shock the Seagate Stormcaller. Thank goodness they didn't have Infuriate to buff it. So we're going to go, or Samet Spirit rather. They might have had Infuriate in the deck anyway, but I'll try and describe what's going on in case the footage isn't quite lining up with how you'd expect. Anyway, Dreadhorde Arcanist comes around, and they have a Wizard's Lightning. Ouch! Wizard's Lightning, really good card. It lets you do 3 damage for just 1 mana if you control a wizard, and Dreadhorde Arcanist is a wizard. So there might be a wizard tribal of sorts. We're going to put another Swiftwater Cliffs down. And then we're going to go ahead and kill the Dreadhorde Arcanist. Silent Storm Tamer is also a really good card, but it's not quite as dangerous, I would say. We'll go ahead and Ops. That's good, but we can't cast it during their turn, so... Now the safest thing here to do is the Lightning Strike with the Siren Storm Tamer. It has an effect that allows you to counter any thing that targets creatures you control, but that doesn't really make too much of a difference if it's the Siren Storm Tamer itself. And we're just going to have to drop the Mystic Sanctuary down and waste its ability, but we have Lightning Strike open for next turn, so... We've got some merit to it, I guess, so we'll see how things go. We are starting to run out of cards though. Admittedly so are they, but they have the Ops to get themselves another card, although it's a cantrip, so it'll get them the same number of cards they had before. Right, so they've played their steam vents tapped. We're just going to keep this lightning strike available for anything they might play down. And I think we're in a bit of a grind here. We're now waiting on our top decks and relying on what cards we both draw, and that will decide this game. We're going to play Charts of Course to draw 2 cards and discard a card. Probably just discard an instant or sorcery. So if they're playing something like a Crackling Drake like we are, then that's going to be really good. So a player gets a bit more advanced version of the deck that we're playing, really. Because Charter Course was played in the competitive Izzet Drake's deck from Ravnica Allegiance format. And Izzet Phoenix for that matter. And they're going to put a Soul Scar Mage. That thing is extremely dangerous, and we're going to immediately go ahead and Lightning Strike it. Basically what Soul Scar Mage is, it allows you to get around indestructible effects by turning your burn spells into minus one counters instead. Okay, we're going to go ahead and anticipate for a creature because we need some board presence. That being said, they're probably holding up some form of removal here, so a Crackling Drake I think is perfect for this situation. We currently have 7 instants or sorceries in our graveyard, so as long as they don't have anything to instantly remove it, we should be okay, but you never know, really. No counter spell, thankfully. We have a Drakuseth, but I'm not quite sure how that's going to do. Now, do they have removal for the Crackling Drake? That's the big question. Unfortunately, they do. However, we have burned their hand in doing so, so let's just drop Big Dragon Boy down. And I severely doubt that one card is going to allow them to kill the Drakuseth in one go, so we're in for a pretty good time here. We should get to do a ton of damage, so they might have to go for a blocker of some sorts, but no, they have no answer to Drakuseth, and Kitchen Table Jank takes a 2nd victory in a row. Woo! Okay, I shall see you in the next game. Game 3, and we're going first. We have a Windstorm Drake in hand, which is quite expensive, but we also have Quench, so as a result I'm actually going to keep this hand. We can get something out of their hand early on. We'll play a Mountain so that we have Shock for their turn. Zarafin Void. Looks like we're going against a colourless deck. That could be problematic because colourless decks generally tend to be pretty good these days. Got stuff like Mystic Forge. You've got stuff like what is it? Forsaken Monument. And obviously you've got Ugin and Ulamog as the big top ends for such a deck. So there's a lot of actually good colourless stuff around these days. Okay, we're going to leave the Quench open for whatever they play next. Try and stop from building anything. Goodbye. Looks like it might be Stonecoil Serpent Tribal at this rate, but I severely doubt that. So we're going to go ahead and drop a Chandra's Spitfire. This does allow them to build something, interplane a beacon, so it might be a Planeswalker deck. Or maybe it's just the fact that it's a colourless land. It could quite easily be that. We're going to go ahead and opt. We have a Lightning Strike on board. We're going to go ahead and opt again. Just to fill our hands with stuff for the future. We've got Evolving Wilds. And we're going to go ahead and Lightning Strike our opponent so that we pump the Chandra Spitfire. Which might be a bit of a waste depending on how things are going. But I severely doubt from the deck they're playing they have stuff that dies to 3 damage. So it's better to shoot their face in this instance in my opinion. So we do 7 damage as a result. Next turn we'll Evolving Wilds for that. And hopefully we can draw into a another form of removal as well. Ugin Archive. And they're going to head and drop the Chief of the Foundry. This is from Kaladesh that just came out. So other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. So as I was... Okay, actually... So that's an Infuriate, not a Lightning Strike. I thought I had Lightning Strike in my hand for some reason. We're going to go ahead and get an island. Keep up the attack, so then we'll go ahead and attack with the Challenger Spitfire and Infuriate it. Down to 9. Going well so far, but always be have to be careful against colourless decks because they have an insane top end. Tezzeret, come on. Master of the Bridge. Well, not very often you see this card played, but having card Sire of Urza down. So basically, Tezzeret gives everything affinity, which means that as long as you have artifacts on board, your artifacts cost less. So affinity is a really broken mechanic. So yeah, now things are looking pretty bleak for us. So Khan is also a particularly big threat as well, but we're actually going straight up and attack them instead. Maybe we can draw into something good here, otherwise we're in big trouble. And Mystic Forge comes down, so this lets them look at the top card of their library anytime and cast artifacts and colours. Oh, and there's the Ugin. Okay, that's game. Unfortunately, because all this stuff is colourless, my stuff gets exiled. And they can then bolt me every turn to kill me, and they got a lot of power on board. So yeah, this is looking pretty bleak. And they have Khan the Great Creator. That's they're both Khans that are currently legal and historic out. And this is looking like too high a bridge to try and be able to do anything. And we're down to 8, and then we get hit for game. Yep. Unfortunately, nothing we could do there. That deck was a bit too powerful for our kitchen table jack to be handled, and as a result, the world wins. And we're against a Yorion deck, but we're going first, so it's not so bad, I guess. We've got some few early pieces of interaction. Also, a Crackling Drake is a long-term payoff, but we only have 2 lands, so actually I'm going to mulligan this. This is a lot better, so we're going to keep this. And we're going to go ahead and put the Crackling Drake to the bottom, which might seem a bit odd to do, but I'm sure it'll work out. So we're going to go ahead first Evolving Wilds for blue. That way we can potentially counter and opt in the same turn. Because obviously they're Yorion decks, so they're not exactly going to be playing very many creatures. More likely playing enchantments. Of course, they might be playing Charming Prince, which can permanently exile things, but maybe they're mono blue Yorion? Potentially, well, we've got a Guardian Idol down now. We're going to go ahead and put this down. And then we're going to go and opt. So we can pump the Sprite Dragon and grab ourselves a Flame Sweep, which depends. That may or may not be useful. We'll have to see how it goes. See what they do next turn. If they make the Guardian Idol a creature, we destroy it with Lightning Strike. If they cast anything, then it becomes we're going to quench it. So yeah, we're going to kind of quench this Maze-Mind Tome. Now they can still pay for it, admittedly, but we do get the pump from the Sprite Dragon. So do they pay the 2? Will you pay for quench? Yeah, imagine if Ristic Study was on Arena. That would be quite something. We're going to go ahead and cast a Challenger Spitfire. Just because I feel like we'll get a little value later on. Although if they have a board wipe next turn, then maybe not. They can use a Maze-Mind Tome. Now they do have a Blast Zone, which can destroy our stuff. So yeah, when they have charge counters on that thing, they basically get to board wipe us. And Forsaken Monument's going to gain them a lot of life. We're going to go ahead and Lightning Strike the Stonecoil Serpent. They're also going to Lightning Strike their face so that we pump the Spitfire and heal them for massive damage. and flame sweep anything that comes down next turn for them. So yeah, they're going to take 9 damage this turn. They're down to 4. If they can't deal with our board this turn, they're screwed. Of course! As soon as I say, if they can't deal with this board this turn, they're screwed. They have an Ugin, which they get to cast at a discounted cost. Disaster for us! No! Unfortunately, we're on a hiding to nothing now, because now they can just bolt us without any response to really set things up. Because what answers do we have really? I don't think we have anything in the deck that can really answer. Also, they can blink Ugin with Yorion, which is particularly dangerous because they get to ball wipe all over again. So yeah. And when Ugin gets to a certain amount of loyalty, yeah. Yeah, I think we just have to concede there. Ugin is pretty much that card that if you play it, you win the game, so... The world wins again. We have now lost 2 games in a row to Ugin. On to the next one. On to the next game, and we're going first with a lot of removal in our hand early on. Hopefully we can find something that will allow us to get an additional blue mana so we can cast the Crackling Drake. And then maybe we'll have targets for our removal spells too. Niv-Mizzet. Nice. I still want to be able to try and show off the combo in this deck, but we'll talk about something for the meantime. In Magic the Gathering, what I really like compared to other card games is that how you don't. Every deck doesn't have to have that one card that you have to play in the deck, because that means that each individual colour has its own staples, but it doesn't mean you just don't see the same card in every single deck that you have to play, unlike in Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you have to play a Professor's Research in every deck, you have to play Ash Blossom in every deck. It's that sort of thing that can really be problematic in my opinion. Anyway, we've got an island, so we're going to play that. And we're going to keep open our mana for the next turn. And they're going to cycle a Greater Sandworm. Interesting. What we're playing against, the Cycling deck. Cycling has a few more options than in Historic, thanks to Amonkhet, so... Nothing? Okay, well, it's too soon for us to play a Crackling Drake, because Crackling Drake is currently a 0-4, so just have to hold open interaction, I guess. More Cycling? Huh? What is their plan here? It's some Simic Cycling deck. Manowar Elves. Shock the Elf. We should probably go Flame Sweep, but I think pumping the Drake is more ideal in some situations. Because obviously ramping into something. If it's an Ugin again, that's going to be so annoying, because after the 3rd game in a row we've had to deal with Ugin. Anyway, we're going to cast a Crackling Drake this turn. We need another island to be able to cast Niv-Mizzet. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to do that anytime soon. Oh, the Temur. Interesting. Oh, the unpredictable Cyclone deck. I love this card. It's extremely dangerous though. They can actually get some really big stuff out of this, so we have to be extremely wary of this. So basically what this card allows them to do is to cycle anything, and then it gets anything out of their deck, so they can cast stuff like Titanic Rex, like Yadara, like Greater Sandworm. So yeah, it's pretty dangerous. I'm going to use a Boon of the Witch Giver, which is a sorcery. I'm not quite sure if that's gonna cycle stuff and give them another Boon of the Wish Giver, so they can basically cheat out on its mana costs. So that's pretty cool. I have a deck like this, but it's more dinosaur tribal, so that's That might be a video for another time, actually. Shark Typhoon coming out. Ooh, that's... We have Flame Sweep, potentially. So yeah, you get to cast Shark Typhoon for free, which is extremely dangerous. Migration Path coming out. We have Flame Sweep in case anything big. Genesis Ultimatum. Oh my goodness. That is real problematic here. If we get one more of that, and a Kiora Best of Sea Gods. Okay, wow. That is kind of ridiculous, really. And they have another Genesis Ultimatum as well. Are you serious? You know what, we lost to another Jank deck, so, fair play. That is a ridiculous amount. Oh my goodness. Oh, they got Mirari's Wake outs. That's why they're... Oh, and they got Omniscience out. Okay, yeah, that explains everything. Yeah, we are pretty much on a hiding to nothing here. We're just going to go ahead and Flame Sweep to... Yeah, Omniscience Cycle is just... Basically, we're not going to get another turn, and they're just going to combo off until they win the game. So we're just going to burn some of this down to try and do something. Also, I have a bit of a daily quest going on, so... Okay, actually, we probably should have waited a bit, but... And they're going to attack for 9 with Yadaro. We could have a Drakuseth, but I just get to cast Greater Sandworm too, which is Omniscience is a broken card. Okay, we're just going to scoop here now. Well. Well, yeah. Omniscience is a pretty overpowered card. Especially when you can choose him to play with stuff like Unpredictable Cyclone. So yeah, that was another hefty defeat for this deck, but do we expect anything less? The first 2 games were kind of something that we shouldn't have been used to, really. One more game and then we'll call it a day. In an alternate timeline, Kitchen Table Jank defies all expectations and wins 4 of its 6 games. However, in this particular timeline, it is currently 3 and only managed to win 2, and we decided to mulligan to a pretty problematic hand here. We will keep this for now. Hopefully we can draw into something. We need to drop the Quench, unfortunately. Do we have to drop the Quench? I think we actually dropped the Sprite Dragon. Yeah, we'll go ahead and drop the Sprite Dragon. No, we'll drop the Quench. Just play on removal strategy. Hopefully we can draw some more lands. If we lose this because I mana screw myself, then I only have myself to blame here. Chromatic Sphere. Another artifact deck. Another Sprite Dragon. We're going to have drop the Mystic Sanctuary and prepare to drop Sprite Dragons next turn. Hopefully we can get some more lands. Guardian Idol. Again, another artifact deck. Oh good, another land. I was starting to get worried there. Swiftwater Cliffs. Sprite Dragon. And we'll cast another Sprite Dragon next turn, then put him in the face with Shock, so... Is it going to be another Ugin deck? It's another Ugin deck, isn't it? That's the 3rd time today! Right, we're on a race here, so I think we have to really get in there now. We've got Evolving Wilds. Sprite Dragon comes in. We're going to go ahead and shock their face. We'll do massive damage to them. So on the burn strategy, I guess. And we're going to go and get ourselves a mountain. That we need to try and race them and try and kill them before they can get down an Ugin, which is going to be hard considering they have ramp in the form of Guardian Idol and Hedron Archive, which is going to allow them to very easily get into this sort of stuff. Hearthstone shards. Okay. Right. Yeah, this is very clearly an Ugin deck. We just have to hope they don't have an Ugin in hand right now, or they don't roll into an Ugin. This is extremely dangerous. It could be Ulamog as well, actually. Right. Okay. So, right. We'll call Opt. Maybe try and find another damaging spell. That's keeps us alive, I guess, but not really what I want right now. So play that. Lightning strike their face. They're down to 10. Unfortunately, we're going to be 2 damage short. So if they have the Ugin, they win. If not, then we will win the game. They have a ton of mana here. They have a Paradox Engine. Oh no, this card is Standing Commander. It's that good. Another Power Stone Shard comes in. A Paradox Engine loves to untap and replay everything again. Fortunately, they don't have an Ugin in their hand at the moment, but they have a fair amount of stuff. They have Inventor's Fair. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain 1 life. And then you can sacrifice it for search for an artifact card and put it into your hand. And they're going to get Niffer Form Engine. So that is extremely dangerous here. Still, in Historic, there's some cool decks. And Paradox Engine is an incredibly overpowered card, as you're seeing right now. They can just continually get more, and they've drawn 4 cards, and they might have an Ugin here. Or an Ulamog. Mind Stone coming in, and Paradox Engine again. This card is ridiculously overpowered. It's insane. This card is banned in Commander, dang it. And they have 10 mana, which is enough to cast an Ulamog. And they have got to go ahead and kick Skyclave Relic. So to be honest, at this rate, I think they have enough mana to just be able to win the game on the spot. So we were just 2 damage short. We really needed a shock off that Opt to win the game, because you're seeing the results here now. Let's just say, look at how overpowered Paradox Engine is. They have 18 mana. 18 mana. 16 mana, but it's going to keep on going up and up and up. And look at this. This is just absolutely ridiculously overpowered, and we don't stand a chance. So I'm just going to say they called a good game there. 27 mana! They can cast 3 Ugins in 1 turn with that. I mean, we could still technically win the game if we get a shock, but it's going to be extremely hard. I mean, if they have Ulamog, it's going to... So they have 30 mana, Foundry Inspector. Oh my goodness. Welcome to Historic. I want to see this play out. This is cool. We're probably going to lose to this, but it's content. So a Niffer Form Engine just allowing them to copy Witching Wild's ability just to find what they want. I just really want to see how this is going to end, because I think it's probably going to end with Ulamog or Ugin, but Skyclave Relic again, Paradox Engine. This card, please ban this card. It's not healthy. It promotes sheer degeneracy, in my opinion. Yorion Artifacts again. They just keep popping off. When is it going to end? Is it just your plan to just try and use Niffer Form Engine to keep drawing through your deck's your win condition? Because I think that's probably going to be the case. Yeah, so we have effectively lost this game, but I let you see how this deck plays out, because you know what, I feel like my opponents have deserved it, because they've got everything in place to combo off, and this is what combo decks do. You find combo decks more prevalent in larger formats with more stuff. Sculpting Steel. and then you that copies anything. And Paradox Engines. So Sculpting Seal is gonna be copied by Lithiform Engine because they have a ridiculous amount of mana. It's gonna copy Witching Well so they can just draw into more cards. They currently have 9 cards in their hand. Just remember how much they started with at the beginning of this turn. This is all one turn. Another Foundry Inspector. Again, they move on. Try to commentate this. If the footage is lagging and you can't see what's going on, I'll try and describe it best. Witching Well is going to try to draw 4 cards effectively. They make more mana. They are now up to a stupid amount over 30. Paradox Engine allows to untap everything again. Ether Flux Reservoir. Okay, I think that's their win condition here. Ether Flux Reservoir is going to be copied and they're going to gain a ridiculous amount of life. They're going to go all the way up to 50 life and basically kill me based on that. So yeah, there's their win condition. So yeah, good game. And we lose to Ether Flux Reservoir. So the world shows us this kitchen table deck for what it is, but you know, I'm pretty glad we did this because that last deck was really cool and I feel like it deserved to be shown on camera. So we're gonna go ahead to the wrap up. I shall see you in just a moment. Okay, let's do the deck wrap up. So in the end, Kitchen Table Jank won 2 games and the world won 4. Though let's be fair, 2 of those were to Ugin decks and 2 of those were to combo decks, so we did quite surprisingly well there. However, there are a few things I would change about this deck if I was to have access to more cards really. I would cut the Windstorm Drakes and run Favourable Winds. I don't have the card on me at the moment, so I just have to say not collected so that I can put it in there like this. I would cut the 2 Quenches for Lofty Denial. I would cut and Anticipate for a 4th Opt. And I would also cut the Challenger's Outrage for a Stern Dismissal. I would also actually cut the Drakuseth really and put in another Raoul. Although I must admit Drakuseth was really helpful during the games, but we never really got to see the Challenger Spitfire Raoul Storm Conduit combo go off in the end. But that's how it was in the end. We just had a lot of other ways to win the game really, so that's how it is. In fact, with Challenger Spitfire, I would actually cut this and go more on the spell strategy, and we would play Enigma Drake at 3 copies. Excuse me, I have a few spelling issues at times. Okay. There we go, in 3 copies of Enigma Drake, I would play that instead. And then, with regards to the mana base, I would cut 2 islands and 2 mountains for Riverglide Pathway. I would cut Swiftwater Cliffs for the much better Steam Vents if you can afford it, or Temple of Epiphany otherwise. And I would also cut Evolving Wilds. Again, this is a much more expensive option, but Fabled Passage. But if you're building this deck on Arena, then you don't need to be adhering to budget by any means. This was just a challenge, really. So yeah, something like this, I think, would be a bit better in terms of overall deck consistency. But that's how it's panned out in the end. So yeah, that is the deck, really. So that's going to be it for Magic the Gathering, or for the Kitchen Table vs Jank series. on next week we're going to be playing Pokemon trading card game online and taking our Jank deck for that game and putting that up against the world. So if you like this video but not really interested in other card games, I would like to direct you to my friend's channel Camembert Run, who's doing daily Magic the Gathering arena content on a variety of different decks. So please check him out. In the meantime though, thank you for watching this video. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Please share this video with your friends so we can get more people watching this series. Please subscribe to the channel so you can keep updated on new videos coming, and also hit that notification bell to get direct notifications of when new videos are out. Also follow me on Twitter at genericaperson, all one word. Thank you for watching. I've been A Person. Goodbye.